What is going on, you guys? Riley here. Today we have the special privilege to take out this 2018 Audi R8 V10 Plus Spyder. That's a big name. Not only is it a big name, but it's also got a big engine. So this is going to be a V10 5.2 liters, 610 horsepower, 413 pound-feet of torque. I am super excited for this review. So for those who do not know, actually Audi invited me out to go race, or not really race, but attend one of their driving schools at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas last year. So I actually got to spend an entire day on a racetrack with one of these cars. It wasn't a convertible, but I got to spend a whole day on a racetrack getting to really push the car, learn the all-wheel drive system, and really get to know the Audi R8 platform. So looking back on that day, that is still one of the best days of my life. That was so much fun, but it is very different driving a car on the track as opposed to driving one on the streets. So today we've got a convertible version, and we're gonna drive it on the streets and see how my thoughts might change as compared to driving one of these, supercars on a racetrack. So you may ask yourself, Riley, how did you get this car? So funny story, there was actually the previous owner of this car traded it on one of our 2019 Corvette ZR1s that we have available at Parkway Chevrolet. So that'd be interesting to see, what would I pick, a ZR1 or an Audi R8? But I gotta say, you don't see these things very often, and man, they do look super, super cool. Gray is a really good color for them. And of course, it's always nice to have the convertible top option in your exotic sports car in case you want to get some fresh air. So that'll be fun to play around with that as well. But overall, the Audi R8 is such an amazing car. I love the new ones. The old ones were okay, but the new ones are like, ooh, yeah, I would totally own one of these things if I had the money for it. And of course, it's a mid-engine car, so the engine is located right there. You got 10 cylinders shoved back there. And I mean, overall, just a very, very good looking car. I personally think the rear is one of the best looking rear shots of any car out there on the market. So not only that, it also has one of the best sounding exhaust on the market. Essentially, this car is a Lamborghini Huracan with Audi badges and a little bit more, I guess, fancy interior. But if my memory serves me correct, the Audi R8 and the Huracan share the same platform and the same engine. So they're very, very similar. From what I gather, this one's just a little bit more refined and not as like punch you in the face as a Lamborghini would be. But nevertheless, Audi R8s are still super, super cool, and you don't see them very often. So why not take it out for a quick little spin? Now, before we take it out for its official voyage, let's go ahead and hop inside and show you guys the interior very briefly here. So overall, a very beautiful interior. It's very actually simple in here as far as exotic cars go. It's nice quilted leather there on the seats and everything, but there's no middle screen like you find in most cars with the navigation screen and your radio and everything. It's all integrated into the screen here right in front of where you sit. So you see everything right in front of you. But overall, a very, very nice interior. It's actually very comfortable. As I said earlier, when I was at Circuit of the Americas, we were on the track almost all day in one of these cars. It was super, super cool. But one thing I still remember to this day is just how comfortable the car was, even when I was pushing it out on the racetrack. I was like, man, I could sit here and do this all day long. It was actually surprisingly comfortable and not as like beat you up as you would expect from a supercar. One thing I will say before we go out on our official drive is that out of every supercar out there, I would say the Audi R8 is probably one of the most like daily drivable ones. You actually have a very large front trunk space in here. So I've got a bag in there, and there's actually stuff below it too, but nice and roomy up here. You could fit a decent amount of things for a front trunk in an exotic sports car. And then moving on to the interior now, we got the car fired up, so I'll be able to show you what everything looks like when you bring it to life. So you kind of slide right in here. It's like almost not quite like a tub design as some other cars out there like McLarens and such, but still actually very, very comfortable in here, just like I remembered. The Bang & Olufsen, I can't say that word, but the sound system in the car is one of the best out there. So we'll go ahead and lock ourselves in here. It's kind of weird how simple it is. There's just a very large dash up here. You sit very forward in the car, which is also a very interesting driving experience. So it'll be kind of interesting to get out on the road and see how it feels on a road versus a racetrack. Also, one of the cool things about the car is that you have the start-stop button on the steering wheel, which is always like such a exotic feeling thing. So always great to see that. And then of course you have your power and your torque readout there on the right side, so you can see immediately just how much power and torque this car's putting out. And I mean, it's just such an awesome car. I mean, for lack of better words, this thing is sweet, and I'm very excited to take it for a drive and kind of drive it more refined, because when you're on the racetrack, you're not driving very refined. You're kind of beating the crap out of the car and starting to push its limits. So this will be nice to just kind of chill and really take it in. All right, so getting settled into the R8. It's kind of weird. You either have the option to have an armrest or have stuff in your cup holder. So you can sit here and put your arm down, or if you don't want to put your arm anywhere, well, then I guess you're stuck having your stuff there and your arm just kind of dangles. So that's a little strange. You have one or the other. Also, one thing that I do remember from driving this long term at Circuit of the Americas is that your left foot is very far over to the right. And I've noticed that a lot with a lot of different exotics, is that you don't really have much room to kind of spread out with your feet. They're very, very close together. So that is the only part of this car in particular that is a little bit uncomfortable. I think I noticed the same thing when I drove a McLaren 570S. All right, so setting off in the R8. This is a very weird experience being on the road and not a racetrack. Wow, it's a lot more bumpy than I remember it and than I thought it would be on the public roadway. I guess that's what happens when you're not on a state-of-the-art racetrack. So now I do have the car in comfort mode, and while it's not a Mercedes-Benz comfort, it's actually not bad for a, you know, a supercar, an exotic car, but it is more rough than I remember it. So that's interesting. So now if I sit here and do drive select, we'll put it in dynamic, paddle shifters. Those shifts are so fast. Oh man, who needs a manual? Automatics, dual clutches nowadays are so good and so fast. You totally don't care that the car does not have a manual. Wow, that is really, really fast. Not only just in speed, but just in the way that it performs. I'm gonna go in real big debt if I keep doing this, because it's gonna make me want to buy one of these. Oh my god. Oh, yep, just as fun as I remember. One thing I will say that Audi got right is going to be their Quattro all-wheel drive system. The traction is very, very solid in this car, even from a very low speed. You can punch it and it just hooks, and it's very responsive. And Audi, like, it's a supercar for a reason. They know what they were doing when they made this thing. It was very good on a racetrack, very planted and very confidence inspiring. That was one of the things that I took away after like a couple laps in this car, was like, wow, I feel like I'm Superman. I feel like I can do anything in this car, because it just makes you feel that comfortable. For most people, when they think of like an exotic car, they think, oh, that's intimidating. For me, when I sat in a Lamborghini Aventador, never even drove one, but just sitting in it, I was like, I don't like this, get me out of here. It was super intimidating to me. This car, not at all. It feels like a, you know, a very like luxury, nice, sporty Audi, but that's a good thing. It's very welcoming and inviting, and that's what I like, is that it's like an everyday supercar that you can just drive around in and have fun in. It's sporty, it's comfortable, and I mean, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I like it a lot. Oh. That would never get old. I would get 6 miles per gallon driving around in this car. But I'd have a lot of smiles per gallon, that's for sure. You can probably tell just by the sound just how quick it rolls right into the next gear. It's just boom, boom, boom. Yep, dual clutches are the way of the future, my friends. It'll be very interesting to see what the new C8 Corvette does, being mid-engine with a dual clutch, and just how, you know, daily drivable that will feel. But I still gotta say the Audi R8 is just a little bit more up here than a Corvette. I haven't driven the new Corvette, obviously, but I mean, I don't know. I really like mid-engine sports cars. I wish I could afford one. Sound system's pretty good. All right, just because I want to get the full experience here, we're gonna figure out how to take the top down on this thing. I want the full R8 experience. Oh, little do all these people know I can't afford this car. Okay, well, let's go do a quick little drive with the roof down. I don't know how well the audio will come across, but we gotta at least experience what it's like to have the top off of this thing. Oh. Oh. Yeah, top down is where it's at. The sound is just like right behind you. This is the full experience. Oh yeah. I think if you had the money to buy, you know, an exotic sports car like this, you got to get the convertible or the Spyder, whatever car you're buying, because this is the full exotic experience. That's the full experience. I don't even know if you can see my face, but or hear me for that matter. Oh yeah, yeah, that's cool. Very, very cool. That is the fastest shifting ever. It is so responsive. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So yeah, what do I think about the Audi R8 V10 Plus Spyder? I think nothing but good things about this car. This was such a cool experience. I would definitely buy one of these if I could afford it. This was fun. Oh, you know what? I just realized if you wanted to, then you could just roll this back window down and the exhaust is right there behind you. So you could leave the top up, but then just have a window. Oh, that's the way to do it. Drive around with the top up and that down so you hear the exhaust right behind you. That is cool. I'm sold. Spyder is the way to go. Forget the hard top. You don't need that. Yeah. So guys, like I said earlier, one of the best days of my life was getting to drive these cars on the racetrack. I seriously had so much fun that day, and now being able to experience this car on the road, you know, it's fun, but still not the same experience as getting to drive a race car on a Formula One racetrack. So for anybody interested in driving one of these cars, do that. Go just Google Audi driving experience. It's in Austin, Texas. I can't remember the price off the top of my head, but you get like a whole day with driving instructors and race cars on a racetrack. It doesn't get any better than that. So I would highly recommend that. I think everybody would have an absolute blast doing that. But also, if you have the money to buy one of these things, yeah, don't hesitate. Just do. But overall, nothing but great things to say about this car. Super positive reflection looking back. And yeah, that just about sums everything up. So thank you guys for watching this video. I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.